You're going to get that lady telling you that the recording is in progress. And this is so that you can watch it later if you want. The way that we do our recordings is we do upload these into YouTube, but it'll probably be a private link. We'll see. We might just make it available because there's not really going to be much other than how to use all those templates that you got. And then we do have a ton of questions that we want to get through. So if you have
And
any,
can I just, oh,
yeah.
sorry. Well, because Jorgelina's going to do the pixels first. If there's any questions, because I think it's better just doing it in the chat and I'll monitor that and then I can speak to Jorgelina if anything comes up.
Yeah, perfect. And then you all have also the ability to unmute yourself right now since we're a small group. So if you want to ask like a question and you want to interrupt me because I haven't seen it or anything like that, please feel free to do that. I might stutter a little bit in between if I get caught off guard, but I don't mind that at all. So this is what you have. This is the drive. These are my questions in the background. So in the drive, you have block reveals, jigsaw puzzles, matching activities, mazes, other reveals, pixel art, and sticker reveals. The ability to add your own questions and your answers pretty much works the same on all of them. So if you can do any one, you can do all of them. It is really that easy. A lot of these are ready for you, are pretty much ready to go. You add your question, you add your answers, you're good to go. But we did want to use this space to talk about a little bit more of the advanced things. When I started teaching high school. I'm teaching middle school now, but I started teaching high school, and I think I did some of the more complicated rearrangement of things because I needed graphs or I needed words and numbers. So it just kind of started highlighting all of those different things. It's just to highlight that you don't have to do just a question and an answer. There's so much you can do with these. Really, you could use them for any subject. As we started just learning more about it, we learned how to make things like like if you need something for capitalization, so just to change the formulas a tiny little bit. And you also have our YouTube videos if you ever need to go back and watch anything like that. So I'm going to start with pixel art because that is how we got started. So all the pixel art templates that you see in here, one of our biggest questions on there was how do you format? People want to know, how do you format from scratch? So I do want to be 100% honest. I haven't formatted a pixel in, actually I did one last year, but I haven't formatted this caliber of pixels in years because it takes me ages. I'm talking 10-12 hours to do one. Juliane is the one that does them. It also takes her pretty long, but she's quicker than we are, and she also enjoys, or she has in the past, I don't know if she still does, but enjoys the process. She likes diamond painting and all those things that are a little tedious, but really that is what it is. Formatting for the first time is very tedious, which is why we started selling the templates, right? You have them already formatted and all you have to worry about is putting your own questions and answers. But this is still a question that comes up all the time. So I have these really simple pixel arts just to show you the process. So the way that I made these here is really with our tool, our fill tool, go in pixel by pixel and fill these in. So I started, this is what I started off with, perler beads. So if you Google perler bead patterns, it's those little beads that you put into a box, right? So this is how I would start. I would look for patterns like this, right? They would have to be in a square. The circle ones don't work, but here's like this cute little frog. And I would just copy that template over. And that's how I started with the simple ones. Oh, there's so many cute little frogs here. I might try one of these later. But it's just counting, right? So 2 green, then 2 blank, then 2 green, then at the bottom. So I would do that. This is something that recently came out. Let me actually, I'm gonna put these separate so you can see what I mean. Recently, this has always been part of Excel, but recently Google Sheets has this too now where you can actually copy the exact color. So this little tool here, you have to be using Chrome though, not Safari. Doesn't work in Safari, which is what I mostly use since I'm an Apple user. But I downloaded Chrome so I can get this nifty tool. So you click on this little custom color, and then you can click anywhere on that color. See, here's a frog, and it'll copy that exact color for you. So there's no more guessing like, oh, what shade of green should I use for that? You can copy the colors directly from the picture and it'll add it for you. That's the color picker. But it really is just that. You set your squares, right, by selecting all the fields and make them into a square size. I think the easiest way to do that is to right click and you go to resize and you resize your column. I currently have it set to 22 by 22. I just want you to keep that number in mind, 22 by 22. When you look at the ones that Juliane has made, like if we look at one of the ones in the drive, the size of these pixels are so tiny, so tiny. So if I select these, let's see. I don't even know if it's going to let me select because it's so small.
I always make it bigger.
Yeah, but
I up to 200.
That's what I do the same, but I wanted to show the size of the oh, there we go. Resize. This is a size 6. Some of the pixels go down to a size 4, sometimes 3. They're really tiny. This is why they take ages. There are hundreds and thousands of pixels accounted for here, which is why it takes so incredibly long to do. And that also,
I will say, like, some of them have like totally blown my mind. I'm so dugged, which is Scottish word for stubborn, so I have to finish it.
I'm still working on one that I started about June. It was a Christmas one. I hope to have it finished by next Christmas.
Yeah, and I lack that quality, Juliane. So I start something and I get annoyed and I'm like, oh, I don't care if I waste 3 hours. I'm done with this. I am a quitter. And I'm going to utilize that here. So this is why I haven't done one in so long. This is why I thrive on puzzles and block reveals, which we'll talk about too. Okay, but going back to this, I still want to show you guys the basics of how to format in case you do want to dive into making your own. Okay, and the ones that are small sometimes are also really helpful. Maybe you need a quick check, 1 to 2 questions, and you want a really tiny pixel. This is definitely something that you can do. So what I like to do is, let's say we had questions here. Let's make this question 1, and then this would be our first answer, right? This is just where you would type your question, and this is where your answer would go into. So I just select the same color, right? So I'll go with red first. Click, click. I'm just holding down my control key and just randomly selecting some of these pixels. Once I have a good number that I'm happy with to pop up for that question, I'm going to right click and then go into view more cell options and conditional formatting. Sometimes, depending on the size of your screen, it's all just really long and the conditional formatting will just pop up without you needing to go to view more cell options. Okay, but it's all here in conditional formatting. And you're going to see that this pops up. It says if this cell is not empty, what is up here, this part is all of the cells that you've selected. So it has all of those. And the format rule that we need is we need a custom formula. Okay, we need a custom formula. And we need to know, we're going to start off with an equal sign because that's always how you start a formula. And then you can type in, for example, Z1, that's where my answer is going to be at. Or you can type in the $sign. So what the $sign does, right? $Z, $1. What the $sign does is it allows you to then move things around, and it's always going to keep that formula with that cell that you cut. if you don't have the $sign when you cut and you paste it, that formula will always belong to Z1. This is why we use the $sign. So it's an exact that's tied to that formula, and you can cut it and put it somewhere else, and it's going to change that formula automatically for you. If you leave those $signs out, it will always belong to Z1, and now you're restricted and you can't move things around. So all of ours have been done with that $sign for that purpose, so that then you can move things around very easily and you're not messing with the formatting. Then the other equal sign here. Right. And the first thing that we did was when we started formatting these, we would do it directly on the first page. So if I put a question, if I put a number 1 here, right, this is the actual answer on here, right? Z1, it is equal to 1. Or you can do the indirect formula. And I always forget, even though I'm the one that started this, I always forget the syntax because I made this formula ages ago. So I'll go into an old template like this one, and I'll right click, view more cell options, conditional formatting. And I'm just going to copy this part after the $sign. So it says indirect, and then it has the question marks, and you have a million templates now to copy from. So I do that because then it helps me remember what's what. Right. But and then so this one is telling me, I'm gonna paste this into the chat so you guys can see too, because I know this might be hard to see. And so that's what the formula says. The indirect part means I'm going to go into a different sheet now. I'm not going to be looking at the sheet you're at. I'm going to be looking at a different one. If you notice on this particular one, I don't have a sheet 2 down here. I have Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Slytherin. So I can add another sheet by clicking this little plus sign. And the
Marty's just asked, could we paste the formulas into a document in the drive or here in the chat? Yeah, we can do both.
So to do what? I'm sorry, what was?
She asked, can you paste the formulas into a document in the drive or here in the chat?
Oh, yeah. So that we can. I'll put them all in a document. That's what I did for the block reveal. So if you look at the block reveal, I pasted all those formulas in there. I'll do the same for this one. All right, so if you notice on this one, it's set to sheet 2, right? That's what it says here. I don't have a sheet 2. I made a new sheet. Now I have a sheet 5. So I'm going to change that formula here to say sheet. I'm going to change that to a 5. And then that answer is going to be in cell C40. That's what the C40 part of that means. So I'm going to go into sheet 5, C40. And on C40, I'm going to put a 1. Notice how now when I go back, it's going to turn into that color because now that's true. That formula works now, right? So now it all turned into this green. But I don't want it to be that green. I want it to be red. So I'm going to change it to red. I wonder what red it is. It's not that red. Put this red. Perfect. Done. Now, notice how I haven't unselected, and I do that on purpose. I never deselected those fields. I never unclicked them because once I'm done with the formatting, I'm going to reset that color. So I'm going to go into fill color here, and I'm going to hit reset. And the reason for that is because when I don't have an answer, I want those to be blank. I don't want those to be white.
Ah.
So you hit the reset button, so then you remember which ones you've already coded. Right, so now it's a 1 and they pop up again. And I did this on purpose where I didn't have one of the questions in the chat on Facebook was how do I make if they notice how this one didn't turn any color? How do I make it turn a color? If I go into the conditional formatting that I did here, I can very easily, using this little data range, select data range tool. It's like a little box next to where all the range is at. I can click on here and go to the bottom, all the way at the bottom of the list. It says add another range. So I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to click directly on that answer column, hit OK. And now that one's included in the formatting and it'll turn that color. For pixels, I don't have them turn green or red. I have them turn and I think Juliane started this, if I don't remember, for pixels. I have them just turn whatever color I have set. And I think Caroline said that in the comments too. I just let my students know if it changes colors, you're good. It means you did it right. No matter what color it changes into. If it's changed colors, then that means your answer is correct. If your answer stayed whatever color the field was, then your answer is incorrect. That's what I do for pixels. I do make them red and green for puzzles and things like that. And we'll explain that when we get to those. Okay, but I'm going to do one more. Let's do question 2 here. And I'm going to skip one. Question 2 on Z3. When I'm going to continue on with my formatting, I will not start from scratch. I don't like typing. I would rather copy paste. So I'm going to go into the one that I already have coded and I'm going to copy this. And I'll put the final one in here now. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to select, let's go for some black ones. I'm going to select some random ones here. And then now I know that I want the actual question to turn into that too. So I'm going to select that one as well. And I'm going to go to add another rule here. If you've closed this out, it's the same process. Right click, view more cell options, conditional formatting. And then now I'm going to go into custom formula. And then I'm going to paste that in here. Now what that does is it's turned green because it's right now it's set up to the one above. So I just need to change a few things. So first I'm going to change this into Z3. That's where my answer is at, Z3 now. But now on sheet 2, it's not going to be on C40. The answer is going to be on C41 because I'm going to put 1 below it. And then I want this to be black. So I'm going to change the color to black. And I want my text, I'm going to change my text to be white. And the reason for that is because if you turn a field black and your text is black, you're not going to be able to see it anymore. So I also want my font to change so that so the students can see that they've typed something in there. So I changed those. You can see what the style will look like here. It'll be black with white font. I'm going to go to done. I'm going to reset these fields. Notice how they're going to turn white right now. And the reason why they're white and it's not working, it's because I don't have it set on sheet 5 yet. But now when I go into sheet 5, I'm going to put a 2 in here. And now that one's worked. Okay. And then when you erase, then you can see which ones you coded. So usually that's what I do. I'll go through, I'll have all my questions typed in, and I will have all my answers typed in on both sheet 1 and sheet 2. And as I'm working, I'm deleting so then I can see which pixels I still need to work with. But notice how it's been quite a few minutes already that I've been explaining this, and it's such a tiny pixel. So it does take a while, but it really is just select, put in your formula, select, put in your formula, select, put in your formula. Does anyone have any questions, or do you guys think that was enough in terms of an explanation? I'm happy to...
Something that I've started to do, instead of using white font, I use one of the grays, because sometimes you've got the white background and when the kids type it in but haven't pressed enter, it doesn't look like there's anything in the answer cell. But if it's gray, yeah.
So that's why I make my font conditional format. So my font here, when the kids type, no matter what, it's black. Right? So I can type like 200. So the question's not going to be right. It's black. It only turns white when the answer is correct. So I don't change. I always have black font unless for some reason I have the thing. And then my conditional formatting has the white font. And again, I only use it if the font's hard to read. But sometimes like when you have blues or things like that, then I will make that font gray. But I only change the font in conditional formatting. Okay. And it's for that. It's sometimes I don't want to change all of them. So,
Yeah.
but that's a good idea too. If you make them all gray, then you don't really have to worry about changing it. Unless you have a gray cell, then you have to change that one.
I just say like that's how I started, and with pixels like that in 2020, I think it was just September time. And I started with very, very like perler bead ones, but it was Debbie who then said about doing it on sheets on Excel. And I've started doing it on Excel, which to me is quicker. There isn't the time on this webinar to go through that, but if you would like, at some point I'll do a webinar on formatting in Excel if that's something, or I'll make a video. In fact, I think Debbie did, there is a video on the our YouTube channel. But if you would like just a webinar for me to do that, I'm more than happy.
So when you change from the sheets, sorry, from Excel to sheets, is that easy, is it? If you do
Yeah,
your
you just
formatting,
yeah, like how I have it, I have the pixel in Google Sheets. I download as Excel,
yeah,
and then when you're finished, you just open a spreadsheet, go upload. So you save your pixel, your Excel sheet. You go, let me just do it automatically. It's
yeah,
file, and then upload, and it's import. And then you
right,
click on that and you click on your Excel and it imports your Excel sheet into Google Sheet and
right,
changes it.
okay,
Yeah, it is easy. I will add too that the reason why I've never done it that way is because again, I'm a Mac user and the Excel for Mac does not have the feature that Juliane uses
yeah,
to code in there. So if you're a Mac user, unfortunately, the Excel version is meant for Microsoft, so they take a lot of the features out, and that's one of them. So I sometimes use my work computer if I wanted to, but then I lose I hate that thing. And so I did like it's just like it's clunky and I rather use my personal one. So yeah, I lose the just I feel like you get better over time. I lose that
yeah,
when I don't
yeah.
use it. And Tammy, I see that you're unmuted. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I know that you mentioned that you go looking for perler bead patterns. Do you ever find them? Is there like if you find like a picture, maybe like a cartoonish picture that you like, is there like a website you can go to that will change that into pixels for you? Like, do you ever do that?
That's a good question. There are some, but you do have to pay, and they're kind of a hefty fee for the good ones. So like there are pages. I think it's through Adobe, and Adobe softwares are really expensive. I think you can get like a couple free ones to try, where you can go from a PDF to an Excel. But again, we try not to use that because it's expensive. But there are like I have this extension on here that's called that I have where is it? I swear I just showed it to Juliane. It might be on my Safari. Hold on, let me I'll open one of these. Excuse the mess. um all right, never mind. I don't know where it is. But there's this extension that's called Pixel Art that will change any picture if
Okay. I have that, but I don't know how to use it. I'll
yeah,
have to look into that.
there's also I have a video on YouTube and I forgot what it's called. Let's just Google it. Turn any
There's a
image.
website, yeah.
Yeah. If I see it, I'll remember which one it is. The one that I used to like using.
I know I put it into it's somewhere on the chat one. Somebody was asking about it, and I was working on the computer at the time, and I could say immediately where it was.
There's This is my like old personal channel. It's this one. I'll put this in the chat, but there's this page here. I'll put this is a old YouTube video, but I will say the reason you'll find all the links on here and everything. The reason why I don't do this is because it will turn your picture in, it won't turn it into like a friendly, cute little picture like this. It'll be like this. So it will turn it into pixels, but it'll be one like this that has a million colors and a lot of little tiny ones. Because it does try to get your picture to look as close to that picture as possible rather than pixelating it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
But there's a ton of things that exist. In this video too, in that video that I just shared, there's a different kind of formatting in there, where you can kind of change everything, but that one really only does work for math, I think. Or maybe ELA type of questions. But if you watch the video, it is easier to format in that way. You could do it in just a couple minutes if you want to do like big chunks of the picture at a time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so most like I've only been part of the group for like, I don't know, a month and a half. And so like some of those beautiful pixel arts that you're doing, those are coming from doing a perler bead thing and tediously
No.
doing.
So these are coming, thank you for asking that. And these are coming from patterns that we bought from artists. So we've paid to be able to make these into a different product, but they come as a PDF and then Juliane copies them.
Okay, so like an artist on eBay or
Yeah, like on Etsy or sometimes even Teachers Pay Teachers. It's just their artists on there and we buy their patterns from them.
okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. This was the formatting one. I will go ahead and I mean, I don't know if you guys want this or not, but if anybody likes Harry Potter, you guys are free to make a copy of this one and you have the little Hogwarts houses or something to practice with. Feel free to make a copy of this one. It's not in the drive. Again, this one's never been formatted, or I don't remember if I ever formatted it or not, but this one's not. But you can try with any of the houses here.
Yeah, and reformat, it'd be lovely if you could post it up onto the group so we could see it.
Yeah, and just practice. Now, just real quick before we move on from pixel art, it's just how do you use your templates, right? Because you have a plethora of them. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. This thing goes on for a long time. So I'm gonna open, just kind of highlight how to use any of these. I'm just clicking. Patriotic Gnome. So on the last one, this is the written instructions, the video instructions, and where is the template? Link to your pixel art.
There it is.
Here's it for Excel, and then here's one for Google Sheet. So I'm gonna click on the Google Sheet one, make a copy.
I'll just say, not all have got the Excel because you used to be able to save it and it was fine, and we always did the Google version and the Excel version, but then Excel changed and it messed it all up. But if you are a Microsoft school, all you need to do, if you just show Debbie where file, download, and you can download it as Excel and share it that way.
Yeah, so, and this is why there's this, you can see on all the corners, there's this little X on there, because Excel, when you download it as an Excel, it'll download up to the last column where there's text on it. So it doesn't recognize this color red as anything. It thinks that cell is blank, and technically it is, you've just colored it in. So that's why we would put a little thing of text on there so it recognizes the entire sheet all the way to that last column. And then you can delete it after, but you go to File and then Download and as Excel.
Yeah.
And that will bring it to Excel. All the formatting is included. When you download as Excel, it just kind of keeps everything as is. All right, but this is how you add questions and answers. This is gonna literally be 5 minutes or less. Let's do a multiplication one. 2 times 2, right? And my answer is 4. So Obviously, the answer here is supposed to be 1, not 4, right? So this is why it changes. And let's do 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 4 is 12. It's 16, not 12. Come on, math teacher. Okay, so here's my pixel. It's going away. This is how I format. When I reformat, I go little chunks at a time, because then it helps me see if I'm making any mistakes. Like, I won't do the whole thing. I know that some people like that, but I like to do a little bits at a time, so that if I make a mistake, I can always undo, and I'm not undoing a ton of work. I'm just undoing a little bit. So now that I have these 3, I'm going to go to sheet 2, and I'm going to find those answers. The first column is always going to be the question number, and then the second column is the answer column. What I do usually is I will delete the question one, and then go and double check, make sure nothing got messed up, because I don't really need those. Eventually, I'm going to hide that anyway. But if it helps you kind of stay on track, you can leave those and delete them at the end. These are not coded to anything. They're just there to help you reference back and forth. So now the first 3 are the ones that are coded and are now different because I've changed. So I need this to be 4, 9, and 16. 4, 9, and 16. And now they are correct, and the picture has changed. Really, that's...
And put text in as well.
And you can put text in as well. So for example, I don't know, let's just put, oh, I guess I could show that too. If you want to change the size of your answer sheets, I selected the E, and I like to make my answer cells all the same. So hitting Control, I click the other one where the answers are, and I'll make it bigger. And then now both of them are the same exact size, so it keeps things nice and neat. I am going to change, I don't know, let's say apple and gnome and flag. So I'm going to put in these words into here. Now starting on 4, apple, gnome, and flag. And then those have worked as well.
That's what's great about this formula with the other one that Jorgelina showed you, the original one where you put it straight into the formula. You have to put apostrophes around. You can't just write in the word.
Yeah, the first one. When it's not indirect. When it's not indirect, you can copy the field. Speaking of that too, here's one trick. If you teach math and you anticipate having an answer of 0 at any time, this is one you definitely want to make a note of. If you put in the number 0, right? Because again, you have to remember that this is it's more of a calculator than meant for us to be doing images with. So the 0 is read the same as blank, right? So 0 is nothing. So if I change this next one into blank, right? 7. It thinks the answer is correct because 0 and blank are equivalent to each other. So the way that you change this is by changing the field, and you do have to change both of them, the answer field and this one. You're going to select that one. You're going to go to format, and then down to number, and you're going to change that to plain text. All right, so now I know it's no longer recognizing it as automatic. It's recognizing it as text, and the text is a 0. And then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to do the same to this answer field, format, number, plain text. And then now I'll put the 0 in here. And now if it's blank, it'll work.
Debbie. Debbie. Why do I keep saying Debbie, Jorgelina?
It's okay, it's alphabetical order. You got to go through us in alphabetical order.
Yeah.
So that's how we do it. It's alphabetical order. Anyway. Wendy's asked, is there any way to do 2-digit addition or subtraction with number under each other instead of horizontal? So, you know, like the traditional what we call chimney sums. Yeah,
okay, let me change that here. So remember I talked about formatting with the $sign, right? So we use the $sign so it allows you to move things around. Okay, and you can do this with any of our templates. You can move things around. So let's say I wanted to change here at the bottom, right? I guess, let me backtrack a little bit. Anytime that I'm going to move things around, anytime that I'm going to move things around, I think, Caroline, this was one of your questions. I like to add a ton of
Extras.
extras. So I'm going to right click on the column and I'm going to go to insert column to the right. And once you add one, you can use the redo button. And then the redo button lets you add a bunch for as many as you want. Yeah. Okay, so that I like to do this because then I have more room to play around with stuff. And then you can always delete what you don't need at the end without messing anything up. So I like to do this so that I can have a bigger working space. That's kind of how my desk is. It's a mess, and then I'll clean it up. So up and down, let's do these. I'm gonna need 2 fields. I'm selecting these and then merging them. You can also select one that's already been merged, copy and paste it. And then I'm going to need one right at the bottom, right, to add. And then finally, I'm going to need one for my answer, right? So this would be one number plus another number, and then addition, right? Yeah. And then my answer at the bottom. Okay. So I'm going to select these 3 and I'm going to take off the borders. So using the border tool, I'm going to make these clear because I only want the bottom, right, to have that line. So I'm going to select either the one at the bottom or this one in the center. And I'm going to add just a line, since I'm selecting the one in the middle, just at the bottom. And I'm going to make it really thick. Right, so now it's going to look like, let's say, 10 and then plus, let's do 13. Okay, so in order to add a plus sign at the beginning, you do need to add a little colon. So it needs to go in like this. Because if you type in just a plus, it's going to think you're going to have a formula in there, and it's going to try to add plus to something. So when you put in the little colon on there, not colon, what is that called?
Yeah. Apostrophe.
Apostrophe. I said it right the first time, right?
Yeah.
When you add the apostrophe, it knows that you mean text and not a formula. So I added that. And now notice how that just went away because the formula Excel understands that you meant to just put in the text in there. So now it's plus 13. I don't like how that looks. I don't like the plus being like them being not in line. So you can either add spaces to that one. Oh, it didn't work. Let's make them both go to the left.
Yeah.
And then you can make this smaller. All right, so here they are up and down. And now my answer needs to go here. So a couple of tips before I move things around. When you copy and paste, again, it's the copy paste does not take the formula with it. You have to cut and paste, right? So Control X. And the easiest way to control and paste and for it to keep the formatting that you want is to unselect the fields, right? So notice how this one's all selected together. I am going to unmerge, right? So the little 2 arrows that go together, I'm going to click on that so that it's only one tiny field. That's what I'm going to cut paste, the one right at the top. I'm going to go to Control X, that cuts it. And you know that you've cut it because it adds the little dashes all around it. That's cut. And then I'm going to go into the field that I wanted to paste it in, and I'm going to go Control V to paste. And when you do that, it fills in the entire portion you saved. So when you pre-make it on the space that you want, and then you cut and you paste, you cut and you paste, you cut and you paste, it makes things way faster if you're unmerging. Right? So if you try, now I'll show you something else, right? Like if I have, let's say I'm going to merge all these because I want a really big answer field, and I just cut this as it is and I paste it. Oh, why did that work? It's not supposed to work. Oh, let's make a tinier one. I think that's what it is. I'm going to cut and paste, and now it's tiny, right? So it's going to resize. And now
Normally what I find is it spills down below.
It spills down below, yeah, which is, I don't know
Yeah.
why. I think it's because I've already cut it and these are tinier,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it'll spill down the formatting below it. So maybe it's not working right now. It's being nice, but usually it's not this nice, which is why you want to
No.
merge. It's going to save you time and headache.
Yeah, it's that merging. That's the trick. That's what I've got to do to make sure that it's all ready to go.
Was that, Wendy, was that enough? Or do you want to see another one?
No, that's, excuse me, that's good. My mind is blown, and I think I'll just keep it horizontal and make sure they write it right on their whiteboard.
Yeah, no, but I mean, honestly, just try it. You're not going to regret it, right? Just try it, because notice this, right? I can just take these, cut, and then paste, cut, and then paste. It really, and then you just make them 2 at a time, right? And the other one's right next to it. So when you add a bunch, and you can just now have a field where now I'm going to copy these 3, and then I'm going to paste.
I've done quite a lot of these, Wendy. So if you Google my name, you'll find some that I've done the vertical formats, and it does take a little bit of time, but once you get into the swing of it, it's a piece of cake.
Okay.
Seriously, you've just got to keep playing with it. I'm the reformat queen.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, don't be afraid, right? There's always the undo button, right? Like I just made all this.
Yeah.
And now I have space for 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you have one that you like this one, right? I like the way this one looks. So I would go through and I would, before I pasted this, right? I would go through and I would paste this how I like it in here. Just copy. And notice how it's copying all the formatting and everything. And now all I need to do is go through here and change, the
numbers.
The numbers. So you can create a bunch just through copy paste, and then at the end, all you got to do is go through here, and now I can move these answers around. So X, paste, and then you can go to this side, unmerge, cut.
It's that unmerge that I've there's my learning for tonight.
Yay!
Yay! I'll say with the ones, if it's like Jorgelina showed you, where some of them are like reduced to 2, 3. I find it handy if I have the conditional formatting up at the side, because once you unmerge them, you have to pick the top of that box. And if you look at the conditional formatting, it might say equals $127. And if you then go onto the top of the box and it's 127, you know you've got the right one.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
There was another question of Marty. I may have missed it, but is the formula different for letters than for numbers? No, it's exactly the same formula. It's just with the indirect, you can just put the text in straight away without adding the apostrophes.
Yeah, if the formula is indirect, so if you're using any of the templates, absolutely same formula. If you're coding yourself and you don't want to use indirect, then you do need to have the quotes for text. All right, this is a mess. I'm going to delete this one unless anyone has any more pixel questions. Adding the questions and the answers works the same for every template. So I don't know, I'm going to give it away to
Before you delete this, if you go over to sheet 2, because some people were wondering how we hide the answers.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you. So let's say this is a beautiful pixel and it's ready for students, and you're like, wow, what a great job you've done. So we're ready to hide the answers, because you don't want students to just go right into sheet 2 and be able to obviously just find the answers and type them in. So there's a lot of different ways. If you have really little kids that are not going to go in there, right, like your 1st and your 2nd graders, you really could just right click and hide the sheet and it's gone. right? If they're little, they're going to be doing them in class with you. You don't have to dive into anything else. If you have middle and high school kids that are maybe doing this at home and are a little bit more like, I don't want to do my homework, so try to cheat my way out of it, then you want to do a little bit more with hiding. So what I do is I select just the answers. This is why I delete everything that's extra. I'll delete the numbers on the side. If it says answers at the top, I'll delete that. So basically just keep the answer fields. I select those. I make the font on just those very tiny. So I'll change it to font size 1. Now they're really, really hard to see. And then while it's still selected, I'll right click. I'll go to view more cell options and conditional formatting. It's going to turn these to green, but I'm going to change the background back to white. I'm not changing anything on the formulas. I'm going to change the background back to white and then the font to white. So now they've disappeared and they can't see them. Right, so the answers are gone. I'm going to hit done. Now the answers are gone. If you need to see the answers, you can go to show the formula, view, show formula bar. So you can still see that there's answers in here, right? Like you can see the answers pop up on the formula bar. Most kids don't know to go and look there. So let me hide that again. And then I like to be extra tedious and I will select the whole sheet in here. So that little box selects the whole thing. I will make the columns as small as they can go and the rows as small as they can go. That way, if they're trying to look at something in here, they don't know where anything is at. They need to know how to make these big. They need to know that they should select this to make the whole sheet big, right? And if they know that much, then maybe give it to them. They've learned this awesome skill. Like, fine.
Also, what I've started doing, if you just undo that last bit, Jorgelina.
Huh?
So if you go, so they're like, yeah. So I do exactly the same. I do it to 1, I do the conditional formatting, but then what I do, if you highlight B to Z, just those rows, and change the size to 2, because on mine I can't change it to 1. Not that, the actual size of the columns.
Oh, okay.
Resize the columns to 2. And then while it's highlighted, hide them.
Oh, man. Resize to 2.
To 2. And then hide those columns. And then I resize A to 2. Because you can't hide that one. So if you resize that to 2, then there's nothing on there.
Oh.
Yeah. That's evil. That is. I'm sorry.
Although, I mean, sometimes you have to hide it from them, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
And now let's say you have got one of Juliane's evil pixels and you want to reformat them and you're like, how am I gonna bypass this? It really is as easy as selecting all. So you could select all of this and then so let's go backwards, right? I'm gonna right click and hide because we do get this question all the time. I found this awesome pixel on the site and I just want to change a couple questions, right? Maybe the formatting works, everything's perfect, but it's addition and you want subtraction, right? So you're just going to change some things around. What I like to do first, if I'm going to be editing anything, I will click on any answer and go to view more cell options, conditional formatting. And then I'm going to check to see if it really is indirect. Sometimes it's not, right? Sometimes the formatting is directly on the sheet. So if it's directly on the sheet, it wouldn't have this word indirect. If it is indirect, I'm going to look in the formula and see where I can find the answers. So the answers on this one start at B41. I'm just reading the formula to try and figure out where it is, where the answers are, right? So the answers are, put it in the chat so I remember, on B41. And so I've checked that, and now I'm going to go and start my unhiding process. So I check first, saves me time later to go hunting things down. I'm going to go to view, and then you're going to see the hidden sheets there and show sheet 2. So now the sheet 2 is going to pop up. I'm going to right click on I'm going to left click on the little box in the corner, and then I'm just going to take that one and just move it. Right. So when you do that, you can now see that field. Then you can click these little arrows here. It's going to unhide them. Really, that's it. It was B41 where they were, right? B41. This is where the answers are going to be. But I don't even have to go that far. Notice how this is now 1. If I'm still selecting all, I'm going to change the font to 12 for the whole sheet. That includes what's in there. While I have everything selected, I'm going to right click, go to view more cell options, conditional formatting, and then just delete this. So remove that. And now all my answers have popped up. There they are. Now you can change them. Now basically you have a template. Okay, so that's just working backwards. That's also a question we get all the time. Like, how do I find what's hidden? I think I had a question from Michelle about how do you make it look like there are questions. I'm evil in this one too. So if you have things that are merged, right? When you make it tiny like I do, they'll show up. And I'll show you, hopefully you can see them. So I'm just merging a bunch of things, and I'll do this. And then when you go to hide this, right, and make it tiny, you can see that there are different size ones. So kids think that's where they're at. So when they go, even Michelle was like, I can see the answer sheet, so there's nothing in there. And I'm like, yeah, they're fake answer sheets. Like, they're fake. I just put them in there and I make it so the kids are looking around. They need to know to go look in the formula. So, I mean, sometimes it takes us longer to trick them than for them to go and get the answers. But a lot of the templates are set up with this extra in there, and it's because of that. But that was one of Michelle's questions I wanted to make sure I answered. It's not that these are answer cells. They're there to trick them into thinking they are. Obviously it worked. Any other questions on this, on hiding and unhiding? That was a good question. Thank you, Caroline.
I have started to change the names of the sheets as well. And I might have the front sheet being called sheet 2, and then the second sheet where the indirect is just plain 2.
Oh, that's smart.
So the kids, yeah, because I've got older kids who are quite capable, and they will go looking for it, and it confuses the hell out of them because they haven't realized the difference between sheet 2 and just a plain 2.
Yeah, so you can definitely change that too. If you right click on the sheet, you can rename them. That also works. That's awesome. Thanks for that tip. That's a good one.
Yeah.
All right, now I'm going to delete this because who knows where it saved this to. Let's move this one to bin. All right, and I'm going to give it to Juliane for the block reveals.
Yes.
Sharing, and I need to close this. All right.
Right. Sorry. Exit full screen. That's what I want. Okay, so I will share my screen. There we are. Then we'll go into the folder. Okay, so I'm going to show you the block reveals, which I've only just really got into. And I actually really like them. I like doing the jigsaws, but block reveals can be so quick. So if I've got, I thought I had 2. Oh, there's another one. Okay, so if I bring this one up, you will have blank templates on yours. But if you go on to sheet 2, your templates will be here. And this one is divided up by 3 by 3. So what you need to do is, sorry, I'm going to have to move this there. There's a tool called Pame Tools, and for some reason I always forget the name. I actually messaged Jorgelina and I messaged Carol because she was up in the middle of the night last week. What is the name of that tool? Pine tools. And there's lots of different free bits and pieces on it, but what you need to look for is split image online. So then for the one that I'm doing, I'll just move you over. You need grid, and mine is a 3x3. So you change that there and that there. Then you need to drop an image into here. So if I go, I downloaded a couple before. So if I put this one, so all you do is click on wherever you've saved it to, open. And that's a very cute monkey. Then split image. And that is it. That is it, done for you. You go here. You can download a zip file, but I prefer to download it all together. So download them all. Then you go back. Sorry, it's taking a while. And what you need to do now, move you over again, is click. I always start from the top. So that's column 1, row 1. Yeah? Insert image, insert an image in the cell. Browse. And then mine is downloads. And what's really good about it, it actually names them for you. So if you go down, it's row 1, column 1. Open. And it's uploading. And can you see that has changed? That is all you need to do. So if I keep doing it, the longest part is actually getting this part up, especially with me, because it's windy here in Orkney and the internet is not brilliant. So if you make a mistake and say put, because that was row 1, column 2, if I'd have put 3 in, just redo it. So if I quickly do this so you can see. We do have, Jorgelina, what's the ones that we've got? What's the size that we have?
What do you mean? Like the
size of the pictures, what's it split into on the drive?
Oh, I think I included like all of them.
Because there's quite a few, but obviously,
Yeah,
like
there's 4x3, 3x4, there's 5x5, there's 1x10, there's 6x6. You have all of them. So I would not start a block reveal from scratch because you have all those templates already. So really it's just how many questions do you need? And then you can find those templates on there. Is that what you meant, Juliane?
Yeah. It was just I wasn't sure what was on. Obviously, the more, if you're doing a 4x4, a 5x5, 6x6, you've got to change it on the Pine tools to fit. And obviously, with the more you've got, like Jorgelina and I have started doing some reviews, which is 36 or 6x6, and that does take, it's quite tedious uploading 36. But this is done. And then once the final 2 in, all you need to do is just change your answers and questions. And that tool is completely free, which is great. Last one. Sorry, my computer is so slow.
And as you're finished, I did say this in the chat, but the Pine tools, I also forget the name. But it is linked in that you'll see a pink Google Doc when you click on the block reveal webinar that we did. I put all those links in there. That pink sheet, if Juliane will show it later, it has all of the templates in there linked. It has the way the formulas work at the bottom, and it has all the tools that we use, like where I find images and things like that. It's on the same document.
So it comes to this. So this is where just jigging it around a bit. See, mine doesn't. Wait, let me just see if it will. No. Oh, there we are. So for big bits like that. Sorry, I didn't. Hold on
I
to the
love
other
the
one.
undo button.
Yes, I use it a lot. So highlight them all, and then you can move this. If it's like really wide, you can do it by, oh, I'm sorry, it's the wrong way. You can do it like that. A bit more. There you are. If you're kind of near to where it's like proper with just the fine lines, once instead of doing them all, you can resize, and you can do, for example, 304 to refine it even further. Yeah? Does that make sense? Is there any other questions on this? No? I think, sorry.
No, and I'm just gonna go ahead because this is also a question. I'm just going through the questions at the same time on from Facebook. And we got a lot of questions about like commercial use versus not. These, if you're putting your own image on the puzzle, like on, can you click, Juliane, on the block reveal folder where that document I'm talking about is at?
Yeah.
That right there, that shows up right above the flying pig you just clicked on.
Oh,
that
yeah.
document that says block reveal webinar. If you're using any of these and you're adding your own picture and your own questions and you have your own Teachers Pay teacher stores, you are free to post those in there, right? So this is something you can use commercially, and that is exactly what we do. We open these old templates that have been created for that, you know, I made a long time ago. I will go and find a picture that I can use commercially. I will split it, put it in there, and that's how you get the block reveals. And up there on the top, you have all of those different sizes you can use. And then
like Pixabay and Free Pick, if you look on there, for a lot on the Free Pick, you do have to pay monthly, but there is still free ones that you can use commercially. You've got to just double check.
I have a related question. Somebody posted something with a slide puzzle. I don't think it was any admin. It was like a Winnie the Pooh with a balloon. Is that related to this? Like, can you do something like that with the same idea? And if so, how? I just thought that one was I liked how it fits together more nicely rather than having those lines. So can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, I can. We make those, so it's the same thing. I know it was Sumita, she's amazing. She makes them on PowerPoint. So when it's the same thing, right? So you still use Pine Tools to split your image, and you bring in all those pieces into PowerPoint, and then you set them up. Do you want me to show you? Want me to show you what I mean?
I guess, how does she get them to look like more like buttons? Like they're not flat. You know what I mean? They have like kind of rounded. They have a different look to them. Kind of almost like the physical slide puzzles where they're not quite a flat image.
So here, let me bring that up. I do everything on PowerPoint, like all my images.
Do you want to share your screen,
yeah,
Jorgelina?
I'll share my screen real quick if you want. And all right, so I just gotta, this is just PowerPoint. I have so many things open from earlier. I'll bring one of these that I already made. So I have these images. It's gonna give me this meerkat, right? So I've already split this into the 9x9 I'm just going to select all these together and I'm going to bring them over to PowerPoint. If you, I guess if you select all of them, you can resize all of them at the same time to make it smaller. You can build your picture on here. All right, so eventually you can get it to be perfect, right? If you want a rounded edge to these pieces, when there's this tool, a crop tool on here. Let me see if I can find it. I personally don't like that look, but you can change the where was it? I know it's a crop feature. Maybe it's on the side. Oh, crop to shape. So see where the crop is? You can crop to shape and you can crop it to shape with rounded edges. And you can change that rounding of those edges to be different if you wanted to. So this looks more like those slide puzzles that slide up and down. So then the way that what you do to now switch them around, right? Once you get it, you have to get it perfect. The good thing about PowerPoint is that you could do that by with their arrange tool, right? So I can select these three, for example, and I can arrange, align all to the left. So now they're perfectly aligned. And then I can align them up and down, and I can do that to every one of the columns to get it to line up perfectly. Once you have it how you want it, right? It's all aligned neatly and everything. This is what my final picture would look like. Right, so I think that looks okay. But once you have it looking the way that you want to, you select all the images together, you right click and you group them together. So now this is just one image. Then you can duplicate this slide. And then you unmerge, right? You ungroup, and then you start moving them around. Right, so this would be your next image. And then I would duplicate this one. And then unmerge. And then maybe move this one with this one. So now it's starting to look like it's sliding around, and then you group. So you're still building a puzzle with whatever image you want, and it's sliding around rather than them popping up. And when you save these, right? So save picture as, it'll save onto your computer as a PNG that you can bring over to PowerPoint. I don't know if that is what you meant. Let me know if it's something different, but I think that's what it was. Yeah, so this one takes a little bit more than just putting in the pictures. And then you, instead of using the block reveal templates, you would use the puzzle templates with the picture progression, which I'll show next. I do like the look on these, the shuffling around. And you can definitely mess around with how much you want it to round off. Maybe you just want to round off these two, like these four, things like that. You could definitely change that up, but it looks like those slide buttons from before, that like the little circle here at the top. Yeah. You're welcome. I know you had another question about puzzles, which I'll get to, about how to use the puzzles. I added some into the drive too. I have it written down from Facebook. Does anyone else have any questions about the block reveals?
No, I think the block reveals, once you learn how to insert the images, it's exactly the same for the task cards. The process is exactly the same.
Yeah, there's definitely a question about task cards, which I'll show as well. It's how to take a pixel activity and turn it into task cards. And really they all kind of work the same. And I copy paste, but I'll get to that after I show the puzzles. Because then it kind of all works the same. Matching and mazes are the same type of activity. These don't have a sheet 2 for the most, actually some of them do if you want to put your answers in here. But really you just type in your answers here and then you got to follow it through, right? So like if your question is here, 2 times 2, right? And that's equal to 4, I would follow this line through, then my answer needs to go here. Right? And then this is where your answers are in, right? So you would type in A to R. That's what your students would type in, A to R, and it matches for them. Okay, so these are really simple because everything's in there. You put in your answers and your questions all on the same sheet, and then you just have to erase this for the kids to type in their questions in there. This is how they would see their work. And then as they're typing in their answers, they can see that matching up. So it's like a matching activity that they would do on paper and pencil. This is something else that you can also use commercially if you wanted to. You had your own questions, your own things, and you have the maze ready to go, the matching ready to go. Some of these have riddles at the bottom. I like these. My kids like those a lot for quick things. The mazes are all here. This is what these look like. You put in your questions in here. And then as the kids type in their answers down here, they're moved around. Those answers are here on sheet 2. Probably hit them. I should probably do what I said I would do and search to see where they're at. So these are the questions and the answers. And then over here on the side of the trajectory of the mazes, it tells you like what direction after they typed in question 1 is going to send them to 2 to 3, then to 7, then to 11, then to 12. So that if you wanted to kind of increase the difficulty, right, you're not going to increase it based on the question numbers because it's going to kind of send them around everywhere. So you would go, if you want to increase the difficulty as you go, you could just follow this trajectory here. That's where the kids are going to be sent to throughout the maze. Those are in here. Those are all the mazes ones. The other reveals, this is another thing that you can definitely use commercially for the most part. And this is what I wanted to get into next, because I'll do Jigsaw in these at the same time, because it really is the same type of activity. And then I'll answer Tammy's question about the puzzles from Facebook. So anyone that has the Google slide logo, right, the Google Slides, this is the actual puzzle itself, and you can put in any question you want behind it, right? So these are puzzles. Okay. Anyone that has the Google Sheet logo, that's where your questions and answers go to. And so I'll just click on this one. This is one that I made. It's also a picture progression. This is stamps, presidential stamps, and the stamps pop up as they're typing in things. My social studies teachers like this one a lot. Okay, so again, Google Sheets is what the students see. Google Slides is how you make the pictures. We have a lot of these available. This one is another one. This one's a star pattern. And there's a water bottle one. So like stickers pop up on the water bottle. There's one that has like nice quotes. This one, I've used this one with my students before. So as they type in answers, little quotes come up on a pin board. And in the Jigsaw puzzle one, there's this pieces one where you get a 16 piece, a 9 piece, and a 12 piece. And all these work the same, and all these you can use commercially. All you got to do is add your own question, your own image in the back, and then now you have something that you can throw into a template. Okay, so I'm gonna work with the, actually I think Juliane wanted to show the 9-piece jigsaw, so I'll leave that to her. But again, these are the ones that we have. Let's say you wanted to change the colors, right? There's not tons you can do. The ones that we've sold in the past, the actual puzzle pieces were made by Debbie, and Debbie uses, again, an Adobe software that she pays for that is, I think you pay per year, but it's like very expensive. So I made these myself using the iPad and Procreate a long time ago. Procreate's a lot cheaper, but it takes a lot longer, and I definitely don't want to, I don't mind using the same one over and over. So if you wanted to change the color somewhat, you can go to, I'm going to make a copy of this one though, so I'm not messing with this one. And I'll just put color change. It'll add it into that drive too. So any of the ones that are existing, even like this star one, if you click on the image itself, there's this format image option, and you can, there's a recolor, and then it has a couple of color options that you can use, right? So I can change this to blue, for example, and then you would just recolor all of these into that blue pattern. I'm just going through the pages, selecting and recoloring blue. So now you have different color options for these puzzles. And there's quite a few. And if you wanted even more, I think Debbie has just the puzzle pieces on her Teachers Pay Teachers, if you wanted to. Personally, when I use these puzzles, yeah, I'll do the task cards absolutely right after this. When I do the puzzles, I like to get rid of this last one, so it just shows the whole picture. That's how I like it. Sometimes the little kids like to see the puzzle pieces, but that's up to you. I kind of find it both. You have both options to do that. So now that you have a puzzle, you've kind of colored it. You need an image for the background. So how do we add that? Right? We have this here. I'm going to go to background. I'm doing that on the first one. I'm going to choose an image. And then I think I have a bunch in here. Let's do this little guy. And then the important part is that you hit add to theme. When you hit add to theme, it's going to add that same picture all the way down the entire presentation. So now your puzzle is showing that puppy. And so this is the puzzle you created. Just over and over. And now you'd be able to use that commercially. It's your own image. You just have to download this. So file, download. And then I like to download as a PNG, and you can now take that and upload it like Juliane was showing you into one of the templates. So over here in the puzzle pieces, she's going to show you that in a little bit, but like that, the ones that have Excel, this is where you put your images in. Okay, and all of these you can use commercially. So Juliane, do you want me to do task cards and then you show the puzzles, or do you want to show the puzzles and then I show the task cards?
We do puzzles because then we're going, so we're not going from one to the other.
Yeah, okay.
Because it won't take long, because you've quickly shown, and I'm not going to go do the whole thing.
Okay.
I just want to make sure everybody knows how to do it.
Yeah, okay. Let me stop sharing and then you can go.
Right, so go here. So here's your jigsaw puzzles. Where's the one? I thought I had saved the 9. Do you know where the 9 is, Jorgelina? I thought I'd
Yeah,
put
it's
it
in that
aside.
it's in that 0 pieces. So click on Jigsaw puzzles and then the first folder on there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the slide that you upload your photos, and then this is the template. So if I go here, no, that's the one you've just done. Do you want me just to do that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So insert background, choose image. So the only thing you have to check, because some are square, some are rectangle, add to theme, that's the important bit. Just go down to your final image to make sure it still looks okay, because sometimes it can look too tall or squished, and then you have to choose a different size. So then you need to get your question up, and I have them side by side. So all you do now, file, download PNG, go to this one. Need to go to step 2. And it's this bit here. You need to do the blank because that's the one that shows all of it. Very easy. Insert an image, browse. It's exactly the same way as we were doing for the blocks. And then I quickly go to that one. Download. The only thing, it can be quite monotonous, but you need to make sure that you're putting the correct ones in. So if I do these couple, and then if I show you what I mean. So that's in. So now if we go to sheet 1, why is it not showing it? Sorry, let me try again. Insert. I don't know why it didn't show them. Maybe because it's got 2 on. Or is it because you've got to change the whole lot first?
No, you can do it half and half.
Just don't know why. But I'll do 2 because there's 2.
And take your answers out.
Yeah, I think if I do the 2, and then I'll show you it, and then I'll just show you why it's important that you do it step by step. Right, so once that's uploaded, there you are. You can see that it's gradually uploading depending on if the correct answers are not. If you mix them up, so example, if I now skip
Put all the answers.
these 2, if I go that, it's not so bad with a 12, but if you're doing like a 25, it's quite easy to kind of get mixed up. So for me, I always check. I'll do a few and then just double check it's okay, because otherwise you've got to redo a whole lot or back it all up. So, and what will happen then? So 3. Nope. For some reason it's not working on mine. Right, 3. I don't know if this is one of the older formats, wasn't it? You had to do it all in order.
No,
I don't-
I think it might be because it's taking a little bit to load. But if you delete the three and put it back in, it might just work because it looked fine.
Yeah, it's my internet is just really slow tonight because of the weather. No.
Well, I'm looking at yours now. It's because you have the same picture in a row.
Ah, that's what
So
it
for
is. Well,
two,
there's where you can
like,
make the mistake
yeah.
then.
You put the same picture. So it's not changing because
That's why. So that's where you can make a mistake. Or if you did
Yeah.
the next one down, you'd have two pieces added. So just check as you go along because it is very easy to do. So any other questions on that? It's basically the same as the block reveals. It's click on the cell that you need it to go, do it in order, insert, and you've got to make sure it is insert an image in the cell. If you click on that by mistake and it comes, like if I do, this is the difference between them.
Can I offer a little bit of something that I
Be like that.
found?
And just go back. Yeah. Yes, Arrow?
What I do is I download the file as a PNG, sorry, as a PDF. And then I go to an online site and I convert from the PDF to PNG, and it comes down as one file, and each picture is numbered. And
Bit like
then
the block ones.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Each one comes down and it's all numbered, and it just makes life so much easier because I quite often will use, say, a 36 puzzle, but I've only got, say, 12 questions.
Mhm.
So I'll download every third picture.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier for me to change the numbers of questions when I'm doing jigsaws.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Thank you.
And I think there's one of that pages, the converter that you're talking about is in that block reveal. We have it in there too, because that's how Debbie likes to do it too. Debbie likes to download hers as a PDF and then convert it. I do it like Juliane does, one at a time. Just know that when you go from, and it depends on how your picture is though. When you do the PDF and then you convert, you lose a little bit of the quality of the image. So kind of it depends, right? If you have a really high quality image, then it's okay to lose a little. But if you started with kind of a an image that's not so high quality and then you lose a little bit, you might lose a little bit of that crispness. And yeah, I work a tiny bit at a time too. The only difference though that I do that Juliane though is that I do split my screen. So I have like my downloads on one side and then the sheet I'm working with on the other. So then I could just drag and drop. But I go one.
Yeah, I do that for the task cards. And if you want to hide this, it's exactly the same. Even like with the pictures, you go to one. Obviously, the pictures won't go. Then conditional formatting. White. You've still, obviously, it will not do it with the pictures, but it doesn't affect at all if you do the Z to. Sorry, I keep having to move you over because I keep doing it, losing yous. Right, resize to and hide because can you see they're just there now? But hide. And then exactly the same as before. The only thing is, obviously, if you don't resize or hide, they will see the pictures on it. So any questions about those?
Just make sure that you undo these because we never made a
That's
copy.
what, yeah, that's what I'm just doing now.
It's quite a mess now of the image. You can't really use these images, but the purpose of this template is for you to add your own. So
There we are. Done.
all right, but I think puzzles was like the picture progression that came out of our very first webinar back in, I think it was like early 2021. When I had come up with the formula, and the formula was so hard to mess with, because it was a giant if this then that, if this then that formula.
Yeah.
But we've evolved, and it's quite easy now. Even those little things that are a little annoying is way better than how we had started off.
And honestly, we're learning now. I mean, we learn ourselves every webinar we do.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so the two questions that I have left is the task cards, and then I have a question about making a template that has a lot of questions, fewer questions. So if you have any questions other than that, let us know in the chat. But I'm going to start with the task cards, and then in the task cards piece, I'm also going to show how to, right after I'll show how to shrink the number of questions. I think when you are teaching math, and you want to assign a homework assignment, you don't want to assign 36 math problems, right? Your kids would like just hate you. So sometimes you want those images or that pixel, but maybe you only want 10 questions. I do that a lot where I shrink the number of questions, and I'll definitely show you guys how I do that. So task cards. I will show a task card activity that's already ready to go, and then I'll also show you how to turn any activity into a task card activity. I'll preface by saying that I will always copy paste. So if I'm going to copy paste a block reveal task card, I'll open one that has task cards in it already, and whatever I want to put task cards into. If I'm going to do a pixel, then I'll open a pixel one, because so I want that formatting to copy paste. Okay, so let's find a task card one here. I think do all of these have them? Let's go block reveal. Block reveals, and yeah, so the block reveal ones have them, and the puzzles work the same, right? So sometimes it's going to take a little bit of hunting because there's so much in this drive. And I also want to say, you don't have to copy everything. We really mean it. We're not going to get rid of this drive. You have access to it indefinitely. So if you just want to copy little by little, it's not like on the first, we're just stopping the sales of them because we just kind of want to move on and then continue with our own personal stores. But this drive is still going to be there. Right, so you have it, you have access to it, keep coming, like star the folder and keep coming back to it. So with that in mind, I'm going to open a 3x3 only because it's the smallest size we have and it'll be easier to work with. And so here's a template, and then I'm going to open a task card template. Actually, what I'm going to do is let's delete this one. I'm going to grab one with an image already. So let's do the jigsaw. The jigsaw and the puzzles work the same. All right, so I'm going to turn this one into a task card using this task card one already. Okay, so if you have a task card template and what you want to do is you're making something for your class, you're going to add an image just like Juliane showed you, right? We're going to cut it up and then we're going to add the pieces into here. Okay, so notice how there's a warning here. Don't change this column, right? So we don't want to change anything in here. Okay. This question for I know that you taught high school. I would assume that the students may get tired of them. Okay, so to be honest, I did use them not daily, but if you notice, I do have on my Teachers Pay Teacher store an activity for almost every day. My kids love them for like homework or quick checks, so it just kind of depends. I did do them often. I try to make the pictures fun. But if anything, like for my AP statistics class, I did use them once a week. So like at the end of the unit or at the end of a really big lesson, I use that for practice. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so this one we're not going to change. What this is, this choose a task card, this is the title here. So see how this is choose a task card 1, task card 2. Okay, so if you change any of these words, it's going to change the words on your drop down. And the words on this drop down are directly tied to what triggers the image that's going to show up when they select. And so don't change this. And also this image that says click on the little triangle to choose a task card, I would leave that one in there too. You can change it for anything else, like you can add instructions in there if you wanted to, but at least the image kind of points them in the right direction. So I would leave that one as well. Okay. Adding the task cards in here is the same as adding images. So if you have a task card that has questions in it, you can input that in there. You can also just add text, right? So for example, if I wanted this to be a word problem, I can type that in here. I want this to be a word problem, long. So like a whole sentence with even more instructions. You can just type that directly on there. When you click on task card 3, this is that in here. I guess I didn't make it long enough. I wanted to show you how it wraps the text. just typing. Let's see now. Oh, why didn't it? All
Well,
right,
you've got to do the wrap button up the top. Yeah.
No, I know, but it was showing text wrapping on there already. So that's this button here that says the text wrapping. You want it to actually wrap. So you want the arrow that's pointing down. I thought all the templates were set up to that one, but it's just as easy as just clicking that again. And it'll give you that. Okay. If you need an image though, right, it's the same thing. So we're going to go to insert image in the cell. And then browse. I think I have a couple on here that I had just recently used. Yeah, so let's put this one in there. I had just made these. So now when you select one, there's the picture. So I use this a lot for graphs, right? And I make my graphs once again on PowerPoint. So I put everything together on PowerPoint. I save it as an image, and then I put those task cards up in here. Okay, and so adding the task cards, it's easy itself. You can make the task cards with anything. A really good one to make task cards with is Canva, right? To make them like all pretty. There's a ton on the free side. If you have a teacher email address, then you get all the special features for free as well. So just make sure you sign up for Canva as a teacher if you're interested in making task cards like that are just kind of like visually pretty. And then the questions just go in here, right? So for task card 1, you would put the answer in here, and all of that works exactly the same. Okay, so I'm going to turn this back. I'm going to undo and put that back.
Matt is just saying that task card has several questions. Where do each of the answers go? If you look to the left, do not change the column. So if you just bring, yeah, George Lee's doing it now.
Yeah, so these are it says Q&A. So this is the question number, and then these are where the answers go. Okay, so it's kind of separate. This is where the task cards go, and then this is where the questions and answers. Sometimes some of the templates, I think for the most part, these really clean ones for the block reveal look like this. For some of the puzzle ones, the questions are over here on the side. But they'll be labeled with like question, answer, task card, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, all that. Okay, so now let's turn this activity into a task card. So first, I know I'm not going to need these 2 things here, so I'm going to delete. Oh, let's make a copy because this is your template. All right, I'm gonna close this one out. Okay, so I know I'm not gonna need these 2, so I'm gonna delete. because all I'm going to need is the question number and the answers. And then using this A button, I'm going to insert a column to the right. So I'm highlighting the column and then insert to the right. And then I'm going to use the redo button and I'm going to add a bunch. Anytime, again, I'm messing with anything, I like to do that. I'm going to take the title and I'm going to bring it all the way to B. Same with the directions. Okay, and then that way it's all centered. And then I'm going to work with my task cards down here. Okay.
Matt is just saying, sorry, the task card you inserted on 2 had multiple questions. Sometimes you may just want a puzzle with 2 task cards. If that one task card's got 5 questions, you have the first 5 answers answering that one task card. So the question, I'm doing as though I'm sharing the screen here, but
You could just
like,
delete.
for example, if you had 5 questions on one card, answer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you would just input that and they know that one task card is the first 5 answers they do. So you may only have one with 2 task cards. It depends on the level of maths or the level of whatever you're doing. Does that make sense?
So for example, my first task card that I inputted had 5 questions in it. So let's say like what Juliane is saying, you only need 1 and 2. If I delete this, right? So I got rid of all of those. When I go into sheet 1, only 1 and 2 pop up. So you just have to remove them. We always give the same number of questions as task cards because that's like the most you'll need, right? At most, you're going to need those because it's set for 9 questions. But if you need less, you could just get rid of them. So that's usually how I work with my task cards. I won't have 20 task cards. I'll have 5, and then every one of those 5 has 4 questions on it. And then I'll just delete what I don't need. I think that was the question. I don't see it, but.
Yeah, we do. We have quite a few, don't we? And there's pixel ones as well.
When we're looking at the task card template itself, what you're going to need is, like for this one, right? I already have a directions, so I don't need this piece here, but I do need a drop-down menu, and I need a piece where the task card's going to go. So I'm going to set that up on here. Before I do anything else, right, I'm going to set, just selecting a chunk here. This is where my drop-down is going to go. I'm going to merge the cells, and I'm going to turn it white. Only that you can change the colors after, but this is just me visually where things are going to go. And then I like to copy this and paste. I like leaving 1 in between. And then I'm going to take this one that I've already pasted. And the reason why I paste is because I want it to be the same width. And then I'll take it as far as I want. So all the way down here, and then I'll merge and it'll just bring that down. Okay, so this is, again, I added a bunch of things. I can delete them later. If I want to delete a bunch of these, I can. And I need a thing for the drop down and where my task card is going to show up. From there, I'll go to my, again, I always copy paste. So I'm going to view and show my formula bar. I'm going to go to this task card. What's the task card picture? They will tell you on here that it's a task card one. So on the template, even if you search task card, only the task card ones will show up. So if it's a task card template, it'll say task card on it. So on this one, right now, I need to create this and this. I'm going to go into here and I'm going to copy exactly this. Right, so I'm going to select all this and I'm going to copy Control-C. I'm going to go into my activity template, go into sheet 2, and you can paste it really anywhere you want. I'm just going to paste it somewhere over here. Okay, so I pasted that over here. Now I need to add my drop down. The way that I add the drop down on here, again, paste first because we need this part here. I'm going to go into here and I'm going to right click where I want my drop down to be. and I'm going to go to view more cell options and data validation. This is how you make any drop downs. This is how I make all the drop downs. It's on data validation. I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to go to add a rule. It's automatically going to be selected to drop down. I'm going to change this criteria to drop down from range. Drop down from range. And then I'm going to go to this little select tool. And this is going to let me select what I want my drop down to say. So I'm going to go to sheet 2. Notice how this doesn't go away. And I'm going to select that range from choose task card all the way to task card 9. Go to OK. And now it's made that drop down for me here on the side. I'm going to go to done. And now I have that drop down here. Next, I need to now, well, I want this thing to trigger the task cards here. So I'm going to go into my block where I have the task card already made. And I'm going to copy this formula. So I'm copying the formula in here, and I'm going to paste that formula in here. Okay. I'll put it in here. I'll put it in the chat as well. Okay, now I'm going to explain what the formula means. I'm going to be viewing that formula in here. That first C11, that C11 is where it's going to be pulling the drop down from. Okay, so mine is not on C11, right? If you click on the task card itself, right, mine is on B4. It tells you up here, B4. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to change this first one from C11 to B4. Okay, so now it's pulling from B4. The second part, that 2 in quotes, that's the name of the sheet here. See how this one's only called 2? Well, my sheet's not called that, right? My sheet is called sheet 2. So I'm going to type it exactly how that is here, sheet 2. Why aren't you letting me enter sheet 2? Okay. And then it's that 050 is where the answers start up at 050, right? And on mine, if you notice, I'm going to take it back to this one, right? It's 050 to P68, right? It's going from here, from 050 here, not 60, all the way to B68. So I need to figure out where mine starts and it ends, right? Where it starts and it ends. So I'm going to go in here. Mine starts on C24. I'm going to write that down. And it ends on D42. C24 to D42. And I'm going to change that on here. C24 to D42. The rest stays the same. And so notice how now, well, the first one didn't, now it works. It's just this one's blank because it doesn't copy a picture. So just typing that in there. Choose a task card. And now as I select, there's my task card template. And so you can do this to any, you can do this to pixels, to everything again. I can take this part of the video and make a new one. I'm pretty sure it's we've made a video on it before as well. Now, if you wanted to, you can delete. If you wanted to delete all these extra ones, you can, and just take this B1 and make it really large. So it all just lives on that first one. Anyone have any questions? So it's select, make your space first. Then you're gonna wanna add the data validation, and then the rest is copy paste from the previous sheet.
Oh, there's no questions in the chat.
All right, that's a task card one, and I'll
And remember, this is going to be on the drive. So it is for people who can't make it today, because there's quite a lot that couldn't make it. Also, it's here to watch over and over. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Lorna's just said I'll be rewatching this several times. Yeah, it'll always be available.
Yeah, it'll always be available. And I'll try when I upload it, I'll try to put timestamps at the bottom, like when we talked about certain things. I like doing that with the videos. So I'll put that in there. And I am going to put the video itself once I upload it, because then it tends to get lost. And I'll put it where you found this link. I'll paste the video here. Okay, so the link to the video, I'll put it in here with like timestamps. It'll probably be at the end of today though, because it's going to take a while for it to download. All right, my last question that I have from the chat is how to decrease the number of questions. Technically, we only have 5 minutes left, but I mean, if you want to stick around, stick around. I do want to show that I wanted to make sure I answered all the questions and if anything else comes up. So let's find one. I love this pizza one. I'm going to use this pizza one. I love this one. Let's see. When you made the hypothesis test and confidence interval problems, was that similar to the vertical addition? Yeah, exactly. It's very similar, Jennifer. What I do is I add a ton, right? I add a ton of pieces and then I just move things around. So I kind of make it how I want it to look, and then I'll unmerge and then copy and paste back to where I want those things. You're welcome. I know Caroline, she's like, I'm the queen of moving it around. I think I am.
Yeah.
You could be my princess, Caroline.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, I move everything around because I want to fit as much as possible and also not make it too overwhelming. So hopefully that comes across. But I spend a lot of time moving things around. All right, so how do we shrink the number of questions? I'm going to use the pixel. I'm going to make a copy of this one, and I'm going to call this, let's say 13 questions. Close this. And this one's a big pixel. All right, so I like to start off on this one. I'm going to be shrinking the number of questions. So I'm going to shrink it to half. I only want 1 through 13. So I'm going to get rid of these. I don't need those columns. And I want all of these. Because we're not going to be, like, this is going to be just for yourself, right? You're not going to, I mean, maybe you'll share it, but it's not intended really to be another template. What I do is I right click. So I'm going to go from 1. I'm going to put the 14 into 1, the 15 into 2, the 16 into 3. So I'm just going to go in that same order because it's going to help me. Sometimes maybe you just need to get rid of like these last 5. Then you can match them to whatever you want, but it's going to be the same general idea. So I'm going to right click on my first one so that I can see the conditional formatting. So I'm going to open up that conditional formatting. Notice how there's only 1 on here. So I'm going to open this one up and I'm going to copy. I'm going to copy that there. So I'm just copying the formula. And then I'm going to open this one up. And in this formula, I'm just going to replace it. So I'm going to paste above it. And then I'm going to go into this select range, add another range, and click on the 1. Now that formatting belongs to that one. I'm going to click on this one again. Notice how the top one says D16 and this one says F16. So these 2 I still need to change. So I'm going to copy that one, paste, add another range, add that one, done. And click back on this one, paste, add another, done. All right, so now when I click on the 14, it's all set to D16. You can delete this 14. It's not going to change colors because it, like that, some of that formatting still belongs there. But then when I'm done with all of these, when I'm done formatting this, I'll just go ahead and delete that column and it's not going to affect anything. So now I'm going to do the same to number 2. Oh man, I closed it. View more cell options, conditional formatting. the 2, I'm going to copy. And then I'm going to click on the 15. Paste. This part, the adding, is optional. I usually, to be honest with you, I don't even do that part. So I'm not going to keep going doing that part. And I'll explain why in a little bit. Click back on here and then I'll paste it out. I mean, it's going to save you a ton of time. All right. Notice this bright yellow one. When I click on the 2, it doesn't show up on that, but you don't really need it. Right? It doesn't have to show up on here. This is just when you're reformatting. We do that so that it's easier for you to reformat. But if it's going to live with you and you're done with it, then you don't need to code it to go on this piece. So I'm going to go into 3 now. I'm going to copy this.
So another good thing about the indirect is that you don't have to do that because you're changing the answers on sheet 2. With the older one, you would have to because you're changing it on the actual formula. But with this, you don't. You just need to have at least one there so the actual answer cell changes colour.
And so I've already done those 4 questions. I'm copying. Go in this one. Paste. And paste. And wait. And copy. And paste. And paste. And delete. And I delete in between just to make sure that none of the pixels like disappear. So I'll show you what I mean. Like on 8, right? I'm going to do this one next. I'm going to copy. And then on 21, I'm going to just fix the first 2. And I'm going to purposely not change that last one. So when I delete, some pixels went away. So there's something I'm missing there. So then it helps me if I needed to check, right? I could just click on those white pixels and notice that I haven't changed this one yet. So then I could just paste there.
Just quickly say bye to Marty. We're glad you've enjoyed it and we'll see you soon. Looking forward to seeing some of your creations on the group.
Yes, please. Anything that you make, feel free to share. We're going to continue, again, we're going to continue doing the same just because we're not going to have this store with the templates anymore. We've always shared what we make and we'll continue to do that. And if we come up with anything new, definitely the group is always the first place we go.
Yeah.
I want to finish this now though, because I'm invested and then that way you have it if you wanted to use it.
You're more than welcome, Tammy. Thank you for joining us.
I think I need to, I think I never answered the question about green and red, did I?
No. I'm moving away from the green and red only because of the color blindness issue for many kids.
I'm
You're
doing
welcome, Wendy. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Ugh.
Done. Now I can just delete this that I don't need. Bam.
And it's done. Yeah.
It's done. 13 questions. This one's also in there. So now you got a 26 and a 13 question pizza. This is perfect for Valentine's Day. How else can you say love? I love you and with pizza?
Yes.
I remember making that one. I was so proud of myself when I finished it. That was one of my early, well, not my early ones. For about 4 or 5 months, I think.
Yeah, I
Wow.
remember the one that I'm never gonna forget was the Grinch one.
Yeah,
Like
I
your
was so proud of
first
that.
time. It
I
was
was
so
sat in bed. I remember it was a Saturday morning, and I was sat in bed the whole morning trying to figure it out. The different greens were a nightmare.
it was so good. The block reveals, right, with the green. I do have a reason why I don't have them turn green and red. It's because I mean the puzzles show up.
I agree with you, Carol. Like my son is severely colourblind to the extent at
Right.
school he's got to have all the paint and pencils labelled because he cannot see. So that wouldn't work for him.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
just having a colour come up, he knows that he's got it
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, did you notice a change? And in this case, you know, the puzzle is tied to them. This is why, sorry, I also really like these block reveals, like the 10 question. Because the image is directly, like it's right next to it.
Mm.
So I really like these. It's like, there's a picture that should come up. It has nothing to do with the color. So I do like that there. The reason why we had started doing the red and the green, like the changing of the colors, was because in my original template, students had to work in order. So if they got number 3, they didn't know how to work with it, the picture wouldn't get triggered anymore. But if they moved on to number 4, they can watch for that color change to know whether or not they were doing it correctly, and then can go back and fix the ones that they had missed. But that's not the issue anymore. So
Yeah.
we fixed that. All right. I think this is it. We went 5 minutes over and that's it. And
I know. I'm so ready for bed.
I'm surprised. What time is it? Is it 4?
5:05 in the morning.
Oh my goodness, you need to go to bed.
I didn't have a nana nap yesterday. So I've been up for 23 hours now.
Oh my goodness.
Go to sleep.
Yes, I will.